All right. Well, hey, Coaches Up for Change. It's Dee Corchin. Glad to be with you guys tonight. It's our Monday night team time. We come together and we're sharing with somebody today about why do we start at 7:28. And a big reason is because we want people to come in. It gives people the time to come on. We always have a hard stop at 8 o'clock, respecting your time. And so that gives us a solid 30 minutes. But it also gives us a little time for some inspiration, maybe some personal development. So over the next few weeks, I want to share some little videos that are from the Conscious Leadership Group, which is the group of Jim Dethmer. Jim Dethmer is the author of the 15 Levels of Conscious Leadership, and he was our featured speaker at Sundance and has also spoken at executive director events. So this is a great one, kind of talking about being above and below the line, probably things you've heard before. So bear with me just for a minute as I set it up. Wish me luck. I haven't done this in a minute. Let's see. And if you can't see this, just unmute yourself and let me know, but I'm going to expand the screen and you should be able to see it.
www.grahamfranks.com. One question that conscious leaders ask themselves over and over is, where am I? To support leaders in locating themselves as they ask the question, where am I? We offer this tool, a line, a simple black line. At any moment, all leaders and all people are either above the line or below the line. Our location describes how we're being with what is occurring in our life right now. If we're above the line, we are open, curious, and committed to learning. If we are below the line, we are closed, defensive, and committed to being right. Stop right now and simply ask yourself, where am I? In this now moment, am I above the line or below the line? Typically, when people are below the line, they believe certain things about the world. For example, they believe there is not enough. It could be that there's not enough money, or time, or space, or energy, or love. People below the line also believe that their story about the situation is right. People below the line also believe that there is a threat out there. Something or someone is threatening their desire for approval, control, or security. And people below the line see the situation as serious. The deeper below the line they are, the more serious things look. People below the line tend to behave certain ways as well. They tend to cling to an opinion, find fault and blame, gossip, explain, rationalize and justify, get overwhelmed, and avoid conflict or pursue conflict for the sake of winning. When people are above the line, they believe that learning and growing are more important than being right. They believe that all people and circumstances are their allies, here for their growth. They believe that from a distance, almost everything is funny. People above the line live in curiosity, listen deeply, speak unarguably, question all their beliefs, and live a life of play. Now, knowing what you know about being above or below the line, where are you? One thing to know as you consider this question: we are hardwired to go below the line. Literally, our brain is programmed to perceive threat, and when it does, a chemical cocktail courses through our veins, and we go below the line. This reaction was designed to help us survive in the presence of a real threat to our physical survival. An issue for modern-day leaders is that often our brains can't tell the difference between a threat to our physical survival and a threat to our ego or identity. We react and get defensive when we experience a threat to our ego. So in many ways, being below the line is natural and normal. But when we are below the line, we're not in a state, literally brain state, of high creativity, collaboration, innovation, and relational connection. We're simply trying to survive. Leaders today can't thrive if they're in survival mode. So the first activity of conscious leadership is location, location, location. In this now moment, where am I? Telling ourselves and others the truth about our current location begins the great conversation.
Debbie, did you have a comment? Do you have your hand up?
No, that was the clapping.
Oh, good. Clapping. Awesome. I love it. Well, good. Yeah, such good stuff. The more aware of where we are. One thing they went over a lot is, isn't it so easy to identify when somebody else is below the line? Right? It's so easy to see when they're doing it, very difficult to see in ourselves. So just a great reminder. And there's a couple other ones we'll watch over the next couple of weeks that build on that. But we've got some fun things happening. Drop a 10 in the chat if you are participating in our ultimate 10-pound challenge. I think we've got 73 people that are doing this. Awesome. So we are doing something unique with our coach group and in this challenge together and putting us into small accountability groups. And so you can still join in if you haven't yet. Meg just did a post today in Coaches Out for Change this evening. And if you missed last night's call, we're going to have 2 more calls and your opportunity to be in a pod. One is at noon tomorrow, which will be in my Zoom room, and then tomorrow at 9 p.m. in Meg's, and then that's it. We'll be done at that, but you do need to participate in one of them. But excited and super proud of you guys for leading with your own health. I think when we do that, we always see the ripple effect. We also announced today our Drop a Turkey Challenge. Super excited about this. Just posted the images and the flyers. This is a great opportunity for us, you guys, to help our clients engage, our inactive clients re-engage, and attract new clients. And it's a perfect setup as we head into the holidays, perfect setup for you to finish the month of October. We've got 1 week left of the month, which is 25% of the month. Still plenty of time to be out there marketing, attracting, and a reminder that Optavia has those great accelerator bonuses for us, and a lot of you guys are super close for it. So wanted to remind you, if you did not watch last week's call, we talked about a panel on the topic of fear. It was one of our most watched calls on replay and live. So if you missed that, it was really good. You'll see that people at all levels, including myself, struggle with fear, but it's a matter of what do we do with that fear in order to achieve what we want and to be able to make an impact. So we like to mix up the topics on what we train on these calls. But one thing that I've gotten a lot of questions on yesterday is regardless of our experience levels, sometimes we're not so confident on the different types of plans that Optavia offers, especially if you followed one particular one. Most of us followed 5 and 1. That tends to be what we're most familiar with, but there are other plan options. So we're going to spend a good portion of tonight. Julie Apple, who's got so much experience, is going to be sharing with us and with a few others. But the one thing I just really wanted to point out, you've probably seen some posts in the Dream Team as well as Coaches Out for Change about compliance. And as we continue to grow as an organization, compliance is so important. Not only just making sure that the disclaimers we post on have appropriate, or the pictures we have the appropriate disclaimers, but also that we're running our business with integrity, that we are identifying as Optavia coaches. And another category in this is that we are offering the correct plan to clients. So for example, if we have a nursing mother, it is our responsibility to offer the nursing mother's plan as it's designed in the documentation that we have in the booklet, and not be saying, or you could do XYZ, or you could do XYZ. Same thing with teens, etc. And it is important for you and for us as an individual, as a Optavia coach, and us as an organization, as Optavia coaches across the nation, that we all comply with that, because the Federal Trade Commission does watch us, and anything that we get flagged on from compliance is important, because it's something that could put you or the company at risk. So when Julie talks tonight, she's going to be talking really from what the compliance perspective is. And I'm also going to put, if you want to see all the stuff with compliance, you can check in the pinned notices on, I really encourage you to read them so you are aware, in the pinned notices of Coaches Out for Change. And I'll also put the link to Coach Answers where you can find everything. So Julie Apple Walker, you want to take it over?
Sure. Hey, you guys. Yeah, so I would love to get us started. If you guys want to put in the chat what program you followed, I think it would be really helpful to know what most of you guys are coming here with knowing probably the most about. Yeah, I was guessing it'd probably be mostly 5 and 1. 4, 2 and 1. I like it. Okay, so there's definitely some other plans of, that you guys have followed. And with coaching probably 7.5 years now, I would say probably 90% of clients follow 5 and 1. And that's the one we probably all feel the most comfortable with. I'm going to go through and kind of lay out the different plans, how many calories they each are. So if you guys want to jot down some notes, you may want to include the calories for each one. I'm going to talk through just a little bit of the basics of the Nursing Moms plan, and then Jessica's going to jump on and join us about the teen program. So I want to start, I'm going to kind of work my way up from 5 and 1 and adding calories for each plan. But what I wanted to start with is what I think about it is when I'm doing the health assessment with my candidates, I really listen closely when I go through asking the questions like, tell me about your exercise. Are you an exercise person? Do you enjoy that? How often do you exercise? So I really like to make sure I'm tuned in, because things like that, what medications do you take? Do you have diabetes? Are you pre-diabetic? All of those are indicators of things. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I might need to revisit that. Or maybe they need to talk to their doctor. I need to ask a few more questions. So as you guys are going through your health assessment, those are really key questions that you want to make sure you're asking. And you also want to make sure you're thinking through, is this going to impact which program they do? So the beginning basic program is 5 and 1, but I will tell you guys, it's only about 800 to 1,000 calories. So if you're not aware, it is very low calorie, but it is designed to be and keep you in fat burn. Something that I make sure to tell clients once they're on program is that if you want to maximize your results, you want to stay in fat burn. So one thing you will notice, and we may start seeing this quite often through the holidays, is people are like, well, I'm doing 5 and 1-ish. They're not really in fat burn. Raise your hand if you've already started hearing that from clients, or if you've heard that in years past with your clients. Yeah. So I'm as of my background's in personal training. So I am very, very aware of muscle loss. And so something that you guys may not be as aware of is that if you are doing 5 and 1-ish, you're not necessarily staying in fat burn, which means you can actually lose muscle. And so I do like to make sure to tell clients that, because then they understand you're not maximizing your efforts, you're actually possibly losing muscle. So then you can offer and say, we do have some other plans, especially coming up on the holidays. They may be a better fit for you while we're doing, while you may not be 100% compliant. So I will definitely tell you guys more about that in a second. But 5 and 1 designed to be in fat burn, and it's very low calorie. And I tell people, I'm like, that is only safe to do such a low calorie plan when you are in fat burn. You would never want to suggest that outside of Optavia, because 800 to 1,000 calories can be very low. So it's best used with Optavia with our mild fat burn. So that's the kind of 90%. We're all most familiar with that, I'm sure. The next plan that I want to make sure we talk through is 4 and 2, which we don't actually have a guide for that. But what I tell clients is 4 and 2 is just an extra lean and green in replace of 1 fueling. So it's still very simple, but it's about 1,100 calories. So if you guys want to write that down, just note it's about 800 to 1,000 on 5 and 1. It's about 1,100 when you do 4 and 2. And you can actually still stay in fat burn on 4 and 2. And so when I'm doing that health assessment and somebody may tell me, oh yeah, I really like to exercise. I already go to Orange Theory 3 or 4 days a week. And I love playing tennis and I play pickleball, then I start asking more questions. Well, tell me how often and how long is your workout? Because 4 and 2 may be a better fit to start somebody that's already exercising. Usually, and I think we've talked about this before, I say start, but I start them on 5 and 1, but they may move into 4 and 2 quickly, because if they're pretty intense exercisers, 4 and 2 that's honestly my favorite with workouts and exercise. Combining that with 4 and 2, about 1,100 calories, you can still really maximize your results and see great progress. So 4 and 2 for you guys, if you're taking notes, is good for active, athletic, exercising people. Then the next plan from there would be 4, 2, and 1. And that we do actually have a guide for. And that one difference is an extra snack. It's a starchy snack. So 4 and 2 is just 2 lean and greens and 4 fuelings. And then with the 4, 2, and 1, it actually takes you out of fat burn. And the science, if you guys, I don't want to bore you, but I'll tell you the science of that is when you eat that under 100 calories, starchy snack, something like a fruit, a grain, or a dairy, it will actually take you out of fat burn. So for clients that I talk to that are like, yeah, I'm not staying in fat burn, I'm not staying consistent, I actually tell them maybe 4, 2, and 1 is a great fit for you. It's still really simple, very structured, but you're not going to try to stay in fat burn. So you're just adding that one starchy snack. And the guide's really helpful because it even tells you how much of each like starchy snack you would have. So I direct them to that guide and I'll email it to them. Dee just put a great link in. I was going to tell you guys, one of my favorite resources is Optavia Coach Answers. So as I'm just sharing all this and you guys are writing down your notes, add to your notes, it's coachanswers.optavia.com. That's actually where I went today to make sure I knew what our different plan options are, because I don't use them all the time. So there's a gout plan, there is a senior plan, there's a diabetes plan. So there's a whole bunch of others, but they're not as common. So I'm not going to hit on all of them tonight, but just so you guys are aware that Coach Answers, especially if you're a new coach, you may want to add it as a favorites in your phone, because I use it all the time to look up any questions. So everything's on there. It's got the document library, anything you need's there. So 4, 2, and 1 is also good for people that are exercisers, that don't want to try to stay in fat burn. So you may, or you may have elderly people that you're coaching that don't necessarily want to do fat burn. They know they're not going to be consistent. That is a great plan. So 5 and 1 and 4 and 2, you can be in fat burn. 4, 2, and 1 is not going to be fat burn because of that starch. So for you guys to understand the science of it, that starch takes you out of fat burn. And then the other plan that's helpful is 5, 2, and 2. Dee covered the compliance, but I will share with you guys that is awesome for moms that are nursing. That would be them choosing that plan. But so you guys are aware, 5, 2, and 2 is also available. It's not fat burning, but it's 5 fuelings, 2 lean and greens, and then 2 snacks. So the way I coach that, I actually have a friend that's doing that plan right now, is it's still designed to eat 6 times a day, even though 5, 2, and 2 does not add up to 6. You would combine some of your snacks with maybe one of your fuelings. You may combine a snack with a lean and green. So it's still designed to think about eating 6 times a day, every 2 to 3 hours. It's just not going to be fat burning. And I will share that 4, 2, and 1, if you add it in your notes, that is 1,200 calories, and 5, 2, and 2 is 1,400 calories. So you can see we're kind of gradually working our way up. I did a couple of years ago, I coached a guy who was a runner, and we tried to do 4 and 2, and then we tried to do 4, 2, and 1, and poor guy was so hungry, like he was dying. So we moved him to 5, 2, and 2, which is the 1,400 calories. He did awesome. So that can be for guys that are heavy exercisers, that are big weightlifters, that just are really women that are really active. 5, 2, and 2 is a great option. I never really knew as much about it, but because I'm coaching a friend with it now, I'm like, wow, this is a really great option. Still simple, and still structured. So that's also available. The last one I wanted to touch on real quick for you guys is the nursing moms plan as it's laid out. So the key with the nursing moms, and this is common with many of my friends, maybe many of your clients, if they're nursing babies, the thing you want to be aware of and you want to make sure you understand is that you don't want to impact the mom's milk supply. And so if you were to tell them, hey, jump on 5 and 1, what happens is that low calorie, their milk supply will actually drop drastically. And you don't want to have that impact. So the nursing mom's plan is designed to be at least 1,500 calories. So if you are paying attention, our 5, 2, and 2 is 1,400 calories. So it's not quite as much as Nutrition Support or Optavia would suggest. So nursing moms they suggest starting at 1,500. Good question, Zena. 4, 2, and 1 is 1,200 calories. But the nursing moms is the 1,500 at least. There is also I wrote it down, 1,800 calorie plan, but they suggest starting on the 1500. And it's not going to be as simple as 5-in-1 or 4-in-2-in-1. It actually has them pick some of their own starches. And if you guys go to the guide, it tells you and gives you some examples of what a day would look like. It incorporates more starch, more dairy, more fruits and veggies. And so it doesn't necessarily look like our 5-in-1, but what's nice is it still tells clients, here's what you need to pick. You need 2 starches, you need 2 dairies. So it tells you and it gives you some examples. So the Nursing Moms Plan is awesome if you want to make sure your clients their mom's milk supply doesn't drop. So that's the basics of the plan. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to turn it over to Jessica so she can tell you guys all about the teen plan, because that's also really, really helpful. So take it away, Jessica.
Hey, thank you. Okay, so the teen plan. So for a teenager to qualify to be able to do the teen plan, they need to be 13 to 18, boys and girls. So for girls, for boys and girls, there's 2 different plans that they can choose from. So it's either Get Healthy Now or Get Healthy as You Grow plan. It's really just difference in calorie intake. So as far as like you need to lose a little bit more weight and want to see the results quicker. And then so for a girl Get Healthy Now plan, it's 1,600 calories. And for the Steady as You Grow girl plan, it is 1,800 calories. And then for the boys, the Get Healthy Now is 1,800. And then the Steady as You Grow is 2,000 calories. Now, there are several things that help you decide. Typically, I talk with the parents and the child to see like what their goals are, what they're comfortable with, like how active they are, to help decide which plan to go with. And it's much like the Nursing Moms Plan. So they are still picking starches. They even have like a special, like the occasional snacks, and it'll give you the option, like they can have a cookie on occasion. So it helps teach them that they can still have these things, but in moderation. So it's giving them control over their health. And I love it so much. If you don't know, my daughter started the Get Healthy Now teen plan when she was 15. And she's 17 now, and she cooks her own food. She made her own lean and greens, and that was what really I saw. So I love the plan so much for the teenage plan, because it puts the power in their hands and it gives them the tools that we didn't have when we were that age. So whenever they're our age, they're not going to have to go back and do all this. And it does give them the options to pick. So, sitting down, okay, what vegetables do you like? What fruits do you like? And then helping them pick that way and putting them in control, teaching the teenagers how to weigh and measure and do all that all themselves. And I think that that's always really appealing to parents whenever they realize, oh, wow, my kid's going to learn how to fend for themselves. And even a 13-year-old can learn this. And they're going to be eating anywhere from 5 to 6 times a day. It just depends on, I think, really with their schedule with school, that's going to be the hardest obstacle when it comes to their plan. But I was asking my daughter before I got on the call, I was like, what's the hardest thing about being on the plan? She's like, nothing, it's easy. I was like, even with being in school. She was like, Mom, there's no reason somebody can't pull a bar. So I was like, okay, good to know. So just they have to make sure they're getting enough calories, because it's not a fat burn plan. As a teenager, their bodies do not need to be in fat burn. Their bodies are growing and developing, and they require all the nutrients, all the food groups. They're getting dairy, they're getting vegetables, they're getting fruit, they're getting all the things that on 5-in-1 we do not have. So making sure that they have the support. I've coached other teens that have support at home, that have a parent on plan or a grandparent, whoever they're living with, someone on plan. That's very helpful. I've done Zooms with parents and teenagers and sat down with my daughter and, just helping them feel like they're supported and they don't want to feel like an outcast. So letting them have some of that community too is so important. But you just want to make sure that they're getting enough food, enough of the food groups, and encouraging them to look at every single category. And it, just like the Nursing Moms Plan, it does give you in the guide, you can, the coach's answers. I always just Google, like Optavia, whichever plan, and it pulls it up. And so it'll tell you like a layout of the day, what their day needs to look like. And then, which snacks and foods, how you're going to incorporate fuelings and things like that.
That's great. And one thing I will add, because when I've coached teens, I want to eliminate any obstacle. And so I will tell them, take your bar out of the wrapper and stick it in a Ziploc bag. If you are self-conscious about the bar, the wrapper, anything like that, take your crunchers and put them in a Ziploc bag. It may sound silly, but to teens, that can be huge and eliminate that obstacle. So that's one extra that. Thank you for sharing, Jessica. And then real quick, the last plan that I did want to make sure we cover, and then we're going to move into just a couple minutes of Q&A and let you guys ask questions, is the 3 and 3 plan. Many people, I saw in the chat real quick, a lot of people have moved to 3 and 3, and that is awesome. Most of the clients we coach probably don't necessarily start there, but we do want to help them understand that there is a maintenance optimization plan that they will move to. And our goal as coaches is to help empower them to move to that. So I tell clients, you do not need to be stuck in 5 and 1 jail. In fact, I feel like I'm not coaching you well if you get stuck on 5 and 1. So moving from 5 and 1 to transition into optimization onto 3 and 3 is what my goal is as a coach. And 3 and 3 is just designed to look same like our routine on 5 and 1, 6 times a day, but they're only going to incorporate probably three fuelings a day. You would use like the TEE, our total energy expenditure calculator, on our website. It's under the plan and programs link, and you would calculate what their calories need to be. And that's a whole other topic. We've talked about transition and where to find that calculator, but it is available on our websites. You can calculate their calorie needs, and then you would help them, give them the sample plans, and you can help them see what an example day would look like using our fuelings to kind of fill in 3 of those slots in the day, and then 3 of their own snacks or meals. So that's the 3 and 3. And the calories will be what you calculate for your clients that are men or women. So I hope this is helpful. We do want to maybe take our last few minutes, Dee, if that's good.
Yeah, there is one question in the chat from Laura. She asked, if they're not in fat burn, how do they lose weight? So we talked about a couple of plans that are caloric deficit versus fat burn. So you maybe want to do a 1 minute on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you guys, if you were to just go to like Weight Watchers or go to some other planned diet, it would be a calorie deficit type of weight loss. And that's where, before I did Optavia with my clients, it was always kind of like, stick around 11 to 1200 calories. You don't want to go below that because it's not safe or healthy for your body to be on calorie deficit, using that science to lose weight, to go super low calorie. So if you're going to guide your clients to weight loss, but not necessarily fat burn, you would want to take them to maybe the 4 and 2 or 4, 2 and 1 plan that's calorie deficit, but safe. And then if you want to use the science of fat burn, then we have the awesome 5 and 1. So that's kind of the difference, using 2 different science of fat burn and then the science of calorie deficit. But obviously we know fat burn is going to make it a whole lot faster and much more efficient.
That's a great description. Great description. Lucy asked the question, and Julie, I know you're great at this, at having clients track maybe in MyFitnessPal or and what ratios to use. But Lucy asked the question, what about somebody who wants to completely transition completely off fuelings? Because our transition plan really takes them to the 3 and 3. So how do we navigate that, or how do we appropriately coach them?
Yeah, that's okay. That's a really great question y'all asked. So I do help clients. I'll tell them, everybody looks a little different after you've transitioned. And some clients do choose to take, totally off the fuelings, and that's okay. But what we want to help them realize is this still the same habits. It's still eating 6 times a day and making sure that they're reading the book. Does anybody have the page? I think somebody actually asked it in the group, in our coaches page today, what the pages are. I don't have it right here at my desk, but in our Habits of Health book, Dr. A has 3 or 4 pages dedicated to 100. What is it?
278.
278. Thanks, Frank. So if you guys go grab your Habits of Health book, mark that, because you'll want to share that with your clients. These are some 100-calorie snacks. They're not the fuelings, but they're still great 100-calorie options that can fill in just like a fueling would. But here's the other thing. You do want to be aware, and I won't get into too much science with y'all, but the macro balance, which is your macronutrients, your carbs, your fat, and your protein, you still want to help them understand that there's a balance that's healthy for while you're on weight loss. And it's 40% carbs, 40% protein, and 20% fat. Those are your macronutrient balance when you're in weight loss on 5-in-1 or 4-in-2. When you move them off of fat burn, off of weight loss, your macros are going to shift and it's going to become much more carb. You're going to include a lot more carbs. So it may be more like 50% carbs versus the 40%. And that's where fruit comes in, and your starches, like your whole grain wheat, pastas, all that stuff. Those calories, that is going to shift your macros. And so it may look like 50% carbs, 30 or 25% protein, 25% fat. Everybody's may look a little different, but you can actually reach out to nutrition support and they can guide you what the macronutrients need to be for long term. So that's the key, is the macros.
And Sarah asked, as we're starting to wrap up, I'll take this as the last one. And Julie, I can't thank you enough. And also Jessica, for everything you guys did. I hope you're seeing the comments about how helpful this is. Sometimes just getting to the basics is so important. But Sarah asked the question, should everything be grounded in protein or anchored in protein? The one thing that we've really learned through this, and I don't know about you, but it was a game changer for me, was those balance of macronutrients, right? I used to eat a very carb heavy diet. It's also why I stored extra fat and why I was hungry all the time. So what we learned through this is when we have a better balance, we eat those complex carbohydrates, the lower glycemic ones. This is all in the education. And when we pair them with protein, it is going to more simulate what the fuelings do for us and give us that more balanced, satisfied feeling. So the one thing that I do, I mean, when I'm coaching my clients through transition, and even when I'm teeing them up at the beginning, when we're just talking about, okay, I'm going to help you with the 5-in-1 plan through weight loss, then transition, et cetera. I think people need to be really honest with themselves. What are they willing and able to do in order to sustain their weight? And for many people, in order to eat all whole foods, to cut and chop and prepare and get them balanced, it's hard to do to keep it in their caloric range. So what I usually say to people, I know we often think that we want to roll off the fuelings. Let's evaluate that when we get there, because you may find you have some favorites and they're just super convenient, super balanced, and super low calorie, especially for when you're on the go and in between meals. And most of my clients, I find, still eat 2 or 3 fuelings, probably about 2 a day is what I find most of my clients do in maintenance. And I've been coaching 11 years. So a lot of my frontline volume is my maintenance clients that are just continuing for sustainability. So we're always going to meet their needs, but remember, you can coach and guide them and really help them be practical and be real with themselves about the reality, or are they going to default back to what they used to do? As we're wrapping up, I did want to clarify, we are going to have a call. Next week is Halloween. So that we understand if you get a ding dong in between, you need to go deliver some treats to somebody, but we are going to have that call. And in fact, Vicki Feldman is going to lead us, and we're going to title it, It All Begins with the Candy Corn. And we're going to title How to Begin to Coach Your Clients Through This Holiday Season. Because the one thing we really want to do is help people move from that systemic all or nothing, I'm on plan or I'm not on plan, and really show clients how to make, in ourselves, how to make progress over perfection. And there's room for everything, right? We don't have to surrender our goals during this time. So this is when our clients really need us. And just always remember, there are so many people that are actively looking that start their plan. If you started your plan in between October 31st and December 31st, put that in the comments if you started Optavia during that time, because there's always a few that, I've had people start on Thanksgiving Day. There's always something, but just know that that this is our time. Yeah, Samantha, Thanksgiving week, awesome. The week before Thanksgiving. So right, you had a choice. You could have chose not to. So there's always people that will do that. So this is exciting as we're finishing up the last week of the month. You've got the challenge to get out there and start marketing. I know I'm going to start tonight with that. Just have fun with this, you guys. It's just really fun to see how we can do things different, shake it up. That's why we're helping you with some marketing techniques and being able to help everybody engage during this season. So thanks again for being on here, for investing in yourselves. I see you and I know what you're doing to be the best you can be, and serving others. And thanks again to Julie and to Jessica. We'll see you next week.